me ask you something. How does this sound make you feel? Did you hear that? Here, listen again. If you don't know what's going on here, no, you don't need to adjust your speakers. There's actually sound playing, even in this very moment. If you still don't understand, no, I'm not playing a prank on you. What you're hearing is actually a sound that is too low for the human ear to detect. To be more specific, the sound that you're hearing is currently playing at 19 hertz, which is a frequency that is just below what the human ear can hear, also known as infrasound. So humans can hear a range approximately of 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz, which makes this particular frequency quite fascinating to me. And as is no surprise, humans are pretty mid when it comes to the ranges that animals can hear, at least according to this graph I found on Google. So if you were to play back the intro to this video, you couldn't hear something, but something like whales or elephants and whales definitely could. And it feels pretty on brand that something like this with these big, large animals that are absolutely terrifying, this particular frequency is also known as the fear frequency. It was discovered in the early 80s, and this frequency was described to give people feelings of stress, fear, and anxiety. And this all began by this guy. This is Vic Tandy, and his discovery began when he was working as a researcher in a medical manufacturing company. One night working, he claimed, "I was sweating but cold, and the feeling of depression was noticeable. But there was also something else. It was though something was in the room with me." It was then discovered that a newly installed extractor fan was creating a hum that was right around the infrasound level. So even though our ears can't hear it, our brain can still sense something going on. Pretty cool, right? Just having the feeling of something looming in your subconscious, but the limits of your 5 senses can't really detect what that is, it just can't help but create the feeling that there's just something hovering over your shoulder watching you. Whether or not this is a real phenomenon is still up for debate, but I know my personal interest in the power of sound and frequency began as a teenager as I was playing bass in my basement. Every time I'd play an E note, regardless of the octave, my dad's snare drum would rattle behind me. No other notes had nearly the same effect, so who knows what the power of frequency can do to our surroundings. So how does this relate to music? Well, I want to conduct a little experiment using the fear frequency, and I need your help. See, as a die-hard metal fan, this idea spawned from this trend that seems to happen in metal music all the time, where the tunings just seem to be getting lower and lower and lower. One of the first notable examples of this was in the 70s by Black Sabbath by total accident. And as the popular story goes, guitarist Tony Iommi had an accident at work and cut the 2 tips of his fingers off. But despite this, he came up with a way to play guitar by wearing artificial fingertips and tuning his guitar down because playing in standard tuning was just too painful for him. And since then, as time has gone on, things have just been getting detuned lower. Bands from the 90s like Korn, Deftones, and Slipknot experimented with lower tunings and even extended range 7-string guitars. This trend continues today with more modern bands using 8 and 9-string guitars. There's this common feeling amongst the metal community where it's just the lower your guitar is tuned, just the heavier and just more evil the sound becomes. It honestly feels like we're just naturally heading towards that fear frequency on its own. And with that being said, the scariest example of this that I've come across recently is a band called Marar. Their sound genuinely terrified me, and it was awesome. So now this really poses the question on how much lower can we really get until we're hitting notes on the guitar that we can't even hear anymore. So today, I'm going to be skipping a few steps, and I'm going to be making a song that is in 19 hertz, thus making it the scariest song on the planet, according to science, by the way. So to explain how we're going to pull this off, each note on the guitar is set to a certain frequency. For example, the low E string on a standard tuned guitar is E2 at 82.41 hertz. And then the lower we go, the lower the frequency, as you can hear in this example. So 19 hertz is theoretically a D sharp 0, which is a note that is basically impossible to get on a real guitar, so I'm gonna have to digitally detune to make this work. But lastly, a quick note that I would like to say is this is actually the second time I've had to make this video, because if you're an idiot like me and decide to use ChatGPT to get your info, it'll give you the wrong info, kind of like saying 19 hertz is actually a G-1, which is inaccurate, and then you have to go ahead and scold it like a disappointed father. So, for the effort that it took to make this video, just please subscribe, okay? Let's do it. So how did that song make you feel? Let me know. There's also something kind of interesting going on here. When you add distortion, you can still hear the percussive sounds of the guitar. When you hit a single note and let it linger, it's silent. So that might be a conversation all on its own. So once again, the fear frequency, it is something that is still being debated. And who knows, maybe even you knowing that that's what was going on really reduced the feelings that you could have. So let me know in the comments how it made you feel. Did it make you anxious? Did it stress you out a little bit? Did it make you want to buy my new book, The Art of Divine Murder, which is now available on Amazon in hardcover
audiobook
and ebook copies? Yes. Or did it just terrify you? I'm above you right now. Do not look up. Okay, bye.